Thanks to the support as a channel member, Dan Taylor. Right, we need to set expectations ahead of this Premier League transfer special. We are not going out and signing a load of Premier League existing players. We're not signing experience. We're not bringing in a load of free transfers who've just been released. We are sticking to the plan. Trust the process, boys and girls. We are sticking to the plan. We are aiming for under 23 players who are going to get better, who will be able to sell on for a profit. We're probably going to get relegated doing it, but we're sticking to the principles because I think hitting all the club vision stuff is more likely to get me my next job. That's the thinking, and there's not a chance the board are going to be bothered if we get relegated. I was brought in to keep them in the Championship. I think we'll be fine even if we go down. We've got to do the other club vision stuff though. Hello, welcome to Club 2, Part 15 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our season review and transfer special ahead of our first season in the save in the Premier League. It took us 7 seasons to get to the Premier League. We won't discuss how we got there. We won't discuss how long it took to get out of non-league and how we eventually got out. Bottom line, 7 seasons from National League North to Premier League. We'll call that a success. We've got the season review up first, though, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with transfers. I mean, like I said in the intro, spoiler alert, we're just going to sign a bunch of kids, and half of them probably aren't going to be able to go straight into the team, and it'll be fine. If we can bring in a wonder kid or two, that'd be perfect. But as the newly promoted team, I think that would probably be a little bit of a stretch. It's just all about bringing in youngsters. But first, let's review the youngsters that we brought in last year. So these were the signings from last season. Signing of the season has gone to Amir Bezic. And you know what? I don't think you can really argue with it. I know he's only a 2.5-star goalkeeper. I know he's only considered a League One standard player who might one day be good enough for the Championship. He's obviously someone who kind of needs replacing in this team, but the circumstances in which we brought him in, losing our goalkeeper, 3 days before the start of the season, and just having to get the best one we could find, he's come in and done a fantastic job. As a 20-year-old who couldn't speak the language, he's kept 17 clean sheets. He's been great. Like I say, we probably will look to replace him because I don't know that he's going to be up to the task of being a Premier League goalkeeper. Those of you who love your little numbers will look at that and probably say, yes, Kev, he's not a Premier League goalkeeper. So it is a priority to try and bring in a replacement. But that being said, we're not going to go out and sign a 32-year-old who's done 8 years as a Premier League reserve previously. We're going to be bringing in a young goalkeeper if we bring one in. And if we can't find a young goalkeeper better than this young goalkeeper, we stick with this young goalkeeper and face the consequences. Other signings that we brought in last year, Rico Lewis was a great addition to the team. Very much a Peterborough United style transfer, coming in from the lower leagues, Birmingham down in League One. Yes, he'd been at Manchester City previously, but importantly, we bought him out of League One for not a huge amount of money, and he's come in and been fantastic. 7.2 from right back. Again, probably doesn't look like a Premier League right back, but you know what? I'm not bothered. He fits my system. And I'm happy to get relegated. I'm kind of already accepting before this upcoming season, we're probably going to get relegated. We'll just enjoy our stay. It'll be fine. Rule Walters got a 7.01 as well. I think one of the key signings was Gowner coming in. Daniel arriving was absolutely key because I think he just slotted into that midfield. Don't read anything into that. I know some of you get a little bit too attached to average ratings. Don't read too much into that. He came into the team and made all the difference. I think having his 19 leadership in central midfield was a key thing, getting us on that winning run towards the end of the season. And I think he just linked everything up. He was, for those of you who watch the network game as well, he's the Pablo Fornals of this team. He's just come in, makes everyone else look better. It doesn't matter that he's not pulling in the high average ratings himself. We're a better team and he's in the side. You always have one or two players like that, and you don't necessarily get why they're there when you just review them in isolation. But if you compare how the team plays when they're in to how the team plays when they're out, you realise what kind of difference they're making. Dane Scarlett, of course, came in and scored a couple of crucial goals, and he's now joining us permanently this summer. And then we've got a bunch more of these players who, I mean, a lot of them are ones who are going to be fine for the future. A few of them probably will be moved on now because, like Pwigmal, he's come in, been here 6 months, he's 27, he's had 2 substitute appearances, and we're going to bring in more players this summer. I don't think this guy ever plays for us again. We're probably going to be looking to move him on. Bondo probably is in a similar situation. Ethan Ennis, Aaron Burrow, all of these guys who've not played a lot of matches and are towards the higher end of my target age bracket. Yeah, we probably move them on. Adam Simpson, he's going to be great. He's only 20. He's fine. Dempster is borderline. Probably needs a loan this season to a championship team and to score a load of goals. If it's only League One teams that are in for him, I think that says a lot about where his future will lie. Results-wise, it's probably the most overperforming season I've ever had playing Football Manager. It says there the board expectation was top half. That is glitched on FM22. There is no chance you will convince me the board expectation was top half. It was, at best, mid-table. I think it was avoid relegation. I'll have to go back and review the tapes. I'm sure one of you will, and let us know down in the comments what the actual expectation was at the start of the season. But I distinctly remember it being years and years of just surviving the championship. Forget this top half nonsense. They've changed that as the season's gone on. But we ended up finishing second, of course, close to maxing out our attendances. And the stadium situation is going to be an interesting one for this coming season. Are we going to get an expanded stadium? Are we going to get a new stadium? Are we going to have to move somewhere else temporarily? I don't know what's about to happen. And Rhian Brewster, 24 goals, the championship's top scorer, despite going half a season without scoring a goal, shows just how good he was when he was good. And he was good for the first third of the season and the last quarter of the season. And it was that bit in between that he really just was awful, but clearly scored enough goals to look good. He's padded his stats nicely with hat-tricks here and there. I think there was a game he scored 4 goals in. And of course, the board consider that an A+ performance. Was that really our biggest? I'm sure there was a game we scored 7 goals. I might be dreaming it. Maybe we won 7-2 at some point. I'll have to check the fixtures. I might be thinking of a different save. The club reputation is 3-star. It hasn't improved, which means it's another reason why we're not likely to be able to bring in Premier League players. Because if you recall last summer, we were having problems of not being able to bring in established players then as a championship team. We're now going to be a Premier League team looking for higher calibre of players, and our reputation hasn't changed. So we've got to focus on youngsters, not just because it's the club vision, not just because it's how I like to do things, but also because we're not going to be able to bring in 28-year-old Premier League players. We've not got the money to do it. And even if we did, they ain't going to sign for us anyway. So we've got to work with the hand we're dealt. Somehow we got no competition prize money this season, which seems confusing. Do we not get anything for getting promoted from the championship? That seems very odd. But otherwise, money stuff is fine. Brewster sells more shirts than anybody else. Good to see Gallagher shifting a lot of shirts as well. And my boy McCormick, Radoni's an interesting one because he barely played in the second half of the season. And this was our team of the year. Bezic in goal, a back four of Ullman, who is probably done. Lundqvist can come in and replace him now. And if he's not the man, someone else will be. But don't expect Ullman to be a starting player for us at 31 years old in the Premier League. But Ullman, Kitching, Ballard and Lewis as the back four. Santiago and Anderson in midfield. Gallagher, McCormick and Nelson supporting Brewster up top. Nelson is on loan again for another season. It'll be his 3rd year on loan at Peterborough, assuming loans stay in place now we've been promoted. I think they probably do. And then awards-wise, Ballard won Fans Player of the Year. Reece Welch, Young Player of the Year. So we've got another good centre-back ready to take over from Kitching and or Ballard as and when one of them cashes in and goes to play in China or wherever else the crazy money offers come from. Bezic, as we know, got signing of the season. Ullman with goal of the season, which I don't remember. Top scorer we know is Brewster. McCormick with 13 assists is top assist maker, but at 29 and having never played in the Premier League, I don't know how much we're going to be relying on Luke McCormick this coming year, even though I love him. Most man of the matches goes to Ballard, as is highest average rating, and Gowner, top pass completion, 82 passes completed per 90 minutes. Again, pulling all the strings in midfield, just doing the simple stuff. just keeping everything ticking over. And we've set some club records as well. So Brewster set the club record for most goals in a season. Obviously, this is during the course of the save club record, because there's many players over the years who've scored 24 goals or more for Peterborough. McCormick setting the assist record. Bezic the clean sheets record. Olasundi's our record transfer sale, £14 million. Is he actually still playing at Brighton? He's played like half a season for him. What a weird signing. And then Ullman, our oldest goal scorer at 31 years old. We don't have a lot of old men around here. So the board are delighted that we've been growing the club's reputation, even though that previous screen indicated that we hadn't been growing the reputation. And the club vision for the coming season, they were going to fight. They want us to fight bravely against relegation whilst growing the club's reputation. That's code for it's fine to get relegated as long as you do this other stuff. So this other stuff is play possession football, play attacking football. This is the stuff we do anyway. Make the most of set pieces. That's weird. They've changed this. They now want high reputation players, but they still want young players. Right, I don't want to sign high reputation players. We want to take that out because I don't want that. I want to continue signing young players for a profit. I want to add back in. Can we not add in an overall? See the previous objectives. I want that one to stay in, because the great thing about this one, which I've discovered and we've talked about on Twitch a little bit, is if you have the signed players under the age of 23 for the first team club culture thing, that means your director of football only offers you players under the age of 23 when you go and ask for advice, which makes it much easier to sign good young players. It's been like a cheat code. It's why we had so many good players coming through. And now it's gone. We're just going to have to sift through a bigger pile again, which is devastating. What other objectives have they taken off? They've taken off develop using the club's youth system. Why would we get to the Premier League and then change everything that got us here? It's like the board are actually trying to stay up, even though they're telling me it doesn't matter if we stay up. Yet they still want to sign young players to develop for a profit. That one stays on. Hopefully they can. I don't want to sign high-profile players, high-reputation players. This is a potential deal breaker. I am not interested in doing it. Therefore, you'll continue to work under our existing blueprint so they're forcing that on me. I'm not going to do it, Dara. You can tell me that's the club vision if you like. That might be something that ultimately leads to me getting fired, because if we get relegated despite being told it's okay, and I've not done that, then that starts to give them grounds to decide they've had enough of me. I'm just not going to do it. What jobs are available? I don't want to sign high reputation players. It's boring. Crystal Palace. I don't really want to drop back down to the Championship. I'm a Premier League manager now, don't you know? There's not really anything interesting there yet. We're going to keep an eye on this situation, because I'm not going to be forced into managing this club in a way that I don't want to manage it. We've just consider that our first row. We've just got promoted and sowed the seeds of problem at the club, because I've just had a row with the chairman. Right, our plans for next season are to just try not to get relegated. Have we got that on here as an option? I want to say you're probably going to get relegated, but we might be okay. I'm proud of your efforts to avoid relegation this year. You must understand how... no, see, that's not what I want to say. I'm optimistic we can avoid relegation. I'm not really. You've done brilliantly to get us to promoted, and even though we'll probably come back down, I'm going to give you all a chance to fight as hard as possible against relegation. That's the one I want. I think that sets the tone appropriately. I think we probably will come back down. We might stay up. It wouldn't be lovely if we did. We didn't think we were going to get promoted. So wouldn't it be great if we had an unexpected survival as well? Our pre-season training camps would go to the east of England. That's exotic. Where was it automatically going to send us to? The Algarve. The Algarve sounds fine. That sounds like a lovely place to go on holiday. Right, we already know what our financial situation is. We've got a decent-ish transfer budget, not much in the way of a wage budget. I would expect a lot of our players to come to me asking for new contracts. We've already had a few of them. So I think a lot of that increase in wage budget is going to disappear before we've even made a transfer. There are players here that we're going to look to move on, who are, it's basically the older ones who've not played a lot of football in the last year. So anyone over 23 who's not played at least half the matches is in danger of being moved on. So that's Aaron Burrow, that's Pugmal, that's Bondo, John Jules. Cox as our backup goalkeeper will probably keep around, but Leighton Clarkson definitely will be gone. Gauner will keep because he's only here half the season, but Radoni will go. Guzman will come back into the mix this year, potentially. Although now we've got promoted, we might do him a championship loan just to give him one more year to develop. Likewise, Lundqvist might go out on loan to the championship, and Dempster. The three of them, there are three great young players currently keeping an eye on, and I don't know that any of them are ready for the Premier League. They would have all been regular players in the championship if we'd have been there for another year. We might loan them out to get them that experience. Ennis might join that group, or because of how much he's earning, we might look to sell him if anyone will take him from us. Reece Welch is borderline, but he did win Young Player of the Year. So it depends how much Reading are going to offer. If they offer me big money and we can find a nice Slovakian replacement for him for £1 million, who's 18 years old but 6'9", then we'll probably move Welch on. Silver's definitely going to be out the door. And then everyone from like Walters and Lewis upwards is probably safe. And that they're basically the players we build the team around for this coming year. And we're going to be aiming for youth. So I'm not sure what we're going to be able to get. I bet it's already messed up the director of football recommendations. The fact that we've now got that different. Oh no, he's still. Oh, maybe we're still getting the good recommendations. Maybe does my director of football have a preference? Maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. Do you have a preference for children? How can we phrase this differently? Does it not have working with youngsters on there anymore? Is that not? I don't really know why he leans towards the younger players, but I think he's still recommending the kind of players that I want to sign, just in small quantities because there's not as many of them. I'd prefer this, but rather than getting a list of 30 players, 75% of which are 29 years old, I'd much rather go to my director of football and say, here's 6 players who are all exactly the kind of players you're looking for. I've not necessarily got someone for every position, but give this lot a scout. They're really good. So we'll give them a scout. Obviously, we've got our scouting that's been going on as well. So we'll check in on what's been scouted here. I think I probably have the 23 filter on there as well. And once it gets to the 1st of July, we'll take that off just for a day, just to check. There's nothing spectacular around. If Mbappe's available, we'll probably take him, even though he's a bit older, for example. But it's going to be these guys towards the top of this list that are likely to be the ones that we're looking at. Someone like this. Now we're in the Premier League. It's not as ridiculous to pay that kind of money for that kind of player because he's a 6'4", 23-year-old international centre-back. We need to get these guys re-scouted as well. Right, I am going to do lots of scouting, lots of contract renewals, and then hopefully the next time you see me, I'll be all happy because I've signed some players. Well, this is frustrating because it seems there's been some planning permission blocked. I don't know what we were planning. We'll get there in a moment. We probably need a scouting package. Now we're a Premier League team. So our planned stadium expansion. What was the planned stadium expansion? So stadium was built. It has room for 14,000. So I guess we were looking to expand to the maximum capacity. Although the board would have liked to move forward with the plans, the local council have intervened and refused to grant planning permission. Fantastic. This is exactly the same problem we had at Leamington. This is why we ended up at Butts Park. The ground was not rebuilt in 1995. It just had a new stand put on there. Goodness me. But we are having undersoil heating put in. Is a 14,000 capacity big enough for this league? Facilities. So only 10,000 of it is seated. So we've still got some terracing. Surely we're not going to be able to use the terracing. I don't know why the capacity has been reduced for normal matches. I'm not sure what that means. But we've effectively got a seated capacity of 10,000. That's surely not enough for the Premier League. I don't really know why we're not being forced into making a change. Stadiums must have a minimum seating capacity of 12,500. Terracing is not permitted. Grass pitches only, undersoil heating required. So we've been forced into the undersoil heating, but which means we must be staying at this ground, but it doesn't meet the criteria. This is going to be interesting. What's also interesting is we're trying to steal an absolute superstar away from all the clubs that want him. In fact, there you go. There are loads of clubs that want this guy. Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, Newcastle amongst them. Asa Walsh, he's a 19-year-old English central midfielder at Sheffield Wednesday. He's got a £9 million release clause, which we've just gone and paid. We've negotiated terms with him. We just need to hope that he comes in now. The scout reports suggest he's better than every midfielder we've got at the moment, with the potential to get much better. Played pretty much a full season for Sheffield Wednesday in the Championship this last year. And he's an English teenager, which is massive as well. So fingers crossed we get him in before everyone else goes and grabs him. He is insisting on a £20 million release clause. So if we get him, we might only get him for 6 months or a year if he's as good as I hope he is. But that's still good business as far as I'm concerned, even if we only get him for a year. So fingers crossed we sneak him through before anyone else has started even thinking about their transfers. I don't think the Premier League is wrapped up yet. So they're not really in a position to start doing transfers. So, yeah, there's still one game remaining in the Premier League. So my thinking is we can nick him, have him come to us before any of those other teams even make an offer. That's what the plan is here. Transfer window is open and we have 3 exciting new young players who've arrived at the club. You already knew about 2 of them. Eric Cameron is the Scottish right winger that we arranged a couple of episodes ago. 3-star current ability, 3.5-star potential now. Obviously, his 5-star potential was when we were in the Championship. But he's already coming in as the best right winger at the club. They're all 3-star. He is official. I know my head's in the way. He is 7th on that list, but they are all considered 3 stars. He'll be fine. I think he's a bargain at £2.3 million. Playing very well for Kilmarnock last season. He comes into the squad mix. Probably the least exciting of the 3. Asa Walsh, we did manage to pull off the Asa Walsh plan. Like I say, he has got a £20 million release clause. Not a lot we could do about it. It was the only way to get him in, but he is the best central midfielder we've got at the club. There's his attributes for those of you who love that kind of thing. And I think that's an excellent signing for the future, either for someone who's going to become a key part of our team or someone we'll make a lot of money on. And the same thing applies to Dominic Asella, who's a 19-year-old Italian under-20 international left-back. Similar situation. The only way we could pull the deal off is by agreeing to a release clause of the same amount, £20 million. But he's going to come in and be our new starting left-back. Ullman, we've already said, is moving on. Lundqvist, not quite ready to be a Premier League starter, I don't think. We looked at him a little bit before. But this guy, 5-star potential. He played 59 games for Basel in the Swiss Super League last year, which, that can't be true. That must be a glitch. It's not even loaded. Of course, it's not even loaded. So I don't even really know what's gone on there. But it's got him lots of experience, which is handy. But he's a left back. He can also play right back, but he's coming in to be our new starting left back. It's another release clause jobby, £10 million. So we've used more than half of our budget because we've not been able to use the Never Never on either of those because we had to use release clauses to get them. So they both break our transfer record and we don't have a lot of money left. But what we are going to do now the transfer window is open, is start trying to get rid of all those players that I was talking about before that we don't want anymore. There's going to be quite a lot of business heading out in the other direction. I think we could probably, if we play our cards right, there's 30 or 40 million pounds worth of sales that could go through yet. So I'm not panicking too much that we've spent a lot of our money early on. And there's also a couple of other players who might be moving on who I would have liked to have kept because they've both got grumpies on. Rico Lewis has requested a transfer because I didn't play him as a libero all season, which apparently I promised to do when I signed him. I should pay more attention to these promises I make when players sign. So he's requested a transfer and there's clubs in for him. So he's probably going to be moving on, although I will insist on making a significant profit on him. And Gowner is the other one who's got a grumpy on because I didn't play him as a central midfielder on defend. I played him as a deep lying playmaker on defend. So he's requested a transfer as well. There's nobody interested in him. But likewise, looking at his value, I'll sell him because he's requested the transfer if someone comes in and makes an offer. But then they're going to need to offer 5 or 6 times what we paid for him 6 months ago. So I don't anticipate him leaving. But there are a few of these other guys who are going to be moving on. Of course, we've got Dane Scarlett joining permanently as well to join that list of players who are already in. And we've made some offers for some youngsters who seem to be scouting quite well. Magnar Njos is a 20-year-old Norwegian right back, not ready for the first team just yet, but he has got 5-star potential. And I just like the idea of signing a player out of non-league when I'm in the Premier League. It amuses me. And there's a couple of other guys. This guy is, I mean, these are youngsters who've just shown up on the scout reports as potential 5-star future players. So this guy's in the Aston Villa youth team who we're just trying to bring in on a compensation situation. And this guy is a youngster at Middlesbrough who we're just trying to nick because he's got 5-star potential. So we're really, really focusing in on the young players because I think the first team is quite good. I look at that first team and there's no position that stands out as needing strengthening. So to me, that's telling me we could probably bring in 1 or 2 players who would probably improve the team, but not by a lot. For us to really upgrade, we're going to have to sign 10 first-team players, and we don't have the money to sign 10 Premier League first-team players. So we're doubling down on youngsters, and we'll see what happens. It is a plan. I don't know if it's a good plan or not, but it is a plan. Yeah, I know it's yet another young midfield player, but I'm just picking up the superstar bargains where I can, and this guy is a superstar bargain. Marcos Palaskonis is an 18-year-old Greek full international. He was actually 17 when we made the offer for him. He's only just turned 18 4 days ago, but already 3 caps, 1 goal for Greece. He's a central midfielder, 6 foot tall with 20 determination, who can also play defensive midfield or attacking midfield, 3-star current ability and 5-star potential ability. He is going to be a superstar. We're really loading this midfield. We're probably going to have to move some midfielders on. Looking at what we've got as central midfield options now. Santiago Walsh, who's just come in, the youngster from Sheffield Wednesday. McCormick, who you know I love. Anderson, who is great. Gowner, who is the difference maker for promotion. And then new boy Palaskonis. It certainly means the likes of Bondo, Radoni, Clarkson, Puigmal definitely need to be moving on. And we are working towards that currently and trying to shift them out. But that is a very exciting signing. Well, we've made it through to the 1st of July, so it is traditional to just check in here and see what's going on. We've just had offers in for Gowner, which I know they've got wage contributions, but they're small wage contributions, and we paid just over £1 million for him. So I'm happy to let him go for 10 million. I would have liked to have kept him. I'd started the video talking about how important he was, but then I have signed several midfielders since then, so he probably wouldn't have been in the team anyway. I did just try and sign another one. This was an interesting thing. Firstly, we didn't need him, but it gave me a message saying he didn't want to discuss terms with me because he wasn't sure how serious my interest was after not following through my interest on so many players previously. I don't know if that's to do with talking to agents and then not following through, or if that's because my director of football has just been constantly making offers for players all summer that I keep cancelling. But for whatever reason, this guy didn't even want to discuss terms. It's probably for the best. We didn't really need him. There has been more transfer business going on as well. In addition to Dane Scarlett signing permanently, Alan Young has come in from Leeds. He's a 22-year-old Scottish international striker who can also play attacking midfield. He can play on the right-hand side of midfield as well. Just another body to have in there. If we're losing Gowner, we're losing Silver. Dempster's probably going to be going out on loan. We need 3 strikers. And I think between Brewster, Scarlett and Young, we have those 3 strikers now. So he's in. We've signed a bunch more young players as well. Aidan Tolley is an attacking midfielder with 5-star potential who's come in from Middlesbrough. Ryan Ward is an 18-year-old striker, only 4-star potential. He was in from, I think, Derby. Yeah. Magnar Njos is the Norwegian right back who's come in from non-league. He's previously of Stafford and Cheltenham. Paid $500,000, now worth that and still showing a massive amount of potential. He's going to be an interesting one. And this one as well, I don't think you'd seen. Bediran Altine, Siri's excited about this one, as you can hear. He's from Aston Villa and is another one with loads of potential. Turkish centre-back. Talking of Turkish centre-backs, Mustafa Kilic has left the club. 22 years old now, came in with bags of potential for where we were at the time, and the fact was he was 6'4" certainly didn't hold him back with us. But as a Premier League club, I just don't see that he's going to be getting in our team. So he's gone back to Turkey. We've turned a slight profit on him. Matthew Cox, our backup goalkeeper, has left. So we only actually have one goalkeeper again now. So we probably need to make a move to bring a goalkeeper in at some point. We've also sold a couple more of the fringe players. Leighton Clarkson has gone to Swansea for £250,000. John Aramburu has left the club as well after a very unimpressive year as a Peterborough player. And Ullman is on his way out currently as well. We've got a number of offers around in fact, one offer at 3.6 million and a load more that didn't want to go up to 3.6 million, but he should be leaving. And of course, the offer for Gowner that you've just seen as well. The situation at the moment, money-wise, ignore that. We're obviously going to get Premier League money coming in. That's not going to be an issue. But we've still got decent amounts of budget. And the squad is looking nice. I am enjoying just gazing lovingly at the squad that we're putting together. We've got a solid midfield. We've got good options up front. It would be nice to have a real top-level right winger, although I'm still hopeful that Cameron, wherever he is on this list, there he is, can step up into that void, or Nelson. We've got a lot of young, talented players on the right-hand side. So I think we're fine there for options. At the back, Ballard and Kitching are both great. Guzman is now back with us, having finished his most recent loans, and I've got to make a decision whether or not we integrate him into a Premier League squad or send him out for game time. Similar decision has to be made for Lundqvist, for Dempster, for all of these young fringe players. The one obvious thing we need is a goalkeeper. Amer Bezic, despite being signing of the season last year, only a 2.5-star player, still considered a League One goalkeeper, and we're in the Premier League. So with the rest of this money that we've got and the money that's now coming in, priority number one is sign a goalkeeper. We thought we had one as well. He's not going to show up on that list, but I think he was called Duarte. I don't know why you can't search from that screen anymore. Was it Duarte? Something like this. This one, Lionel Duarte, Uruguayan, 20-year-old Uruguayan international, who was 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential. Arsenal want him as well. We negotiated terms with him. We thought we'd agreed a contract, but then he agreed an extension with his club in Uruguay. He's now got a £4.5 million release clause, which we're willing to pay, but because he just signed a contract, he's not willing to discuss terms, which is frustrating. So the search for a goalkeeper continues. We'll get these ones that were on here just now. We'll get those scouted as well, although that guy's already been scouted. Are we familiar with his work? Anibal Ocampos, who, I mean, he is better than what we've got. He's 5-star potential, playing in Paraguay at the moment. In fact, is he fully scouted? Why have I passed over him previously? This is why the director of football is so useful. I'm not seeing much in the way of weakness there, to be honest. If we compare him to Bezic, he is the only thing Bezic is slightly better at shot stopping and communication, but Ocampos fills the aerial and handling problems that we had with Bezic. I think we maybe go for this guy, especially because he's got 5-star potential. Who else is in for him? Wolfsburg. This might be our guy. Relatively cheap as well. Is that an £850,000 release clause? Oh, we can't. For £850,000, I think it'd probably be rude not to, even if we end up buying another one and having him as our backup. We need 3 goalkeepers for the Premier League anyway. We continue scouting. 2 big players out, 2 big players in. Rico Lewis has gone to Stoke for £2.8 million because apparently he's afraid of the Premier League. Look at this previous he has for just running away from the Premier League because he wants to play as a libero. I'll tell you what, Rico, you won't be playing as a libero at Stoke, will you? You numbskull. Ullman has also gone to Mallorca for £3.6 million. We had already signed his replacement earlier in the summer, and we've gone out and bought Kerr Smith, who we identified right at the start of the window as a player we were definitely interested in. He's a centre-back who can also play right-back. He probably, at the moment, is our first-choice right-back until we can bring in a replacement for Lewis, but definitely offers some competition at centre-back as well to Kitching and Ballard. Only 23, already a full Scottish international, 6'4", which you know I like in a defender. He's better than Kitching, as good as Ballard, and he's going to be an excellent Premier League player for us in the future. Brought him in for £12 million from Crystal Palace, where he played last season. and then Stanley Okoli, who scouted much better than 3 stars. I'm hoping he ends up much better than 3 stars because we spent £21 million on him. A lot of it's gone on the Never Never, and I really hope that we haven't done a silly thing here. But we needed a right winger. Swedish under-21 international, plays on the right-hand side, is an inverted winger or an inside forward. He's a left footer and can also play up front or as an attacking midfielder as well. Hasn't played a lot of football in his career. It'll be fine. I mean, that season at Millwall a couple of years ago wasn't very inspiring, was it? It'll be fine. What does this think of it? Is he our best right winger? He's not even in the top 5. It'll be fine. It will be fine. We don't really have a right back. Ballard and Smith are the only 2 really who can play right back for us. Sella can play there as well. Kitching's our best left back. We've got some very good centre backs here at the club. Obviously, we've got Lundqvist, we've got Walters knocking around as well. We still need a goalkeeper. We are working on it. It's only the 5th of July. There's still business to be done. There's still a lot of players we're trying to get rid of. We're finding it quite difficult to shift players out. Gauner hopefully is on his way out to CSKA Moscow. And we've had a £4.5 million offer from I thought it was Fiorentina. It's actually Frosinone for Ridoni. So hopefully he's going to be going in a big money deal. And so that brings a bit more money in that we can then hopefully fund a goalkeeper and a right back with. Is there money to be had here? I mean, there's a little bit. We'll take it. We'll always take it. Where's Harrison Burrows as well? Is there money to be? Not as much, but we'll take anything we can get, really. We need players. We still need a lot of players. I'll level with you. Didn't expect this guy to show up on a scout report. Amari Theodros, still at Leamington. Still considered 5-star potential by my scouts now. 12 goals, 11 assists for Leamington last season. What position were they playing him in? Deep line forward. So he's definitely a forward. This is where I always went wrong with him, clearly, playing him in midfield. I think we might have to buy him. How can I not link up with a former Leamington player? I suppose we should check in on how Leamington got on. Obviously, you can see how they're getting on Earth 2 on my Twitch streams most afternoons at the moment, where I guess I really need to start using Theodros. But they finished, that doesn't tell me, we need to go back to the previous season. They finished 15th in League 2 with a team that surely not. McIneff's back in the team in the Football League. What is going on? And Theodros playing as the lone striker. Not exactly scoring prolifically for a lone striker, but you know what? He's showing his 5-star potential. I think we're going to reunite. It's only right. And give Leamington a big sack of cash as part of it. Because £4 million, I feel it's quite nice to juice Leamington a little bit. Plus, it looks good on my record that a youngster that I brought in for nothing and then developed. I discovered and developed this boy. He couldn't have done it without me. Let's see what we can negotiate here. So if we offer 4.4 million on installments, they'll take that. There you go. We're just going to keep Leamington afloat for the next 3 years and bring Theodros into Peterborough, where he can be a reserve forevermore like he always was at Leamington. I chickened out of the Theodros deal in the end. It was when Leamington brought it on themselves. It was when they asked to loan him back for the season. Of course, his value shot up as a result of the offer, though. That's brilliant. It was when I made the offer. They immediately asked for a loan back, and I just couldn't bring myself to take him away from them. He's their star man, and I just want to see his career develop without me ruining it. So I'm going to leave him there. If they sell him to someone else, then fair enough. But I'm not going to ruin his career. Has he got a shaved head on the top, long hair at the back? That is a haircut if he has. But yeah, I'm going to leave him there. We have made some other transfer business, though, as we continue to rebuild this squad for the Premier League. We have a right back-ish. I'm not sure if he'll be my starter. If we were signing him permanently, I'd be very excited, but he's actually only on loan from Manchester City for the season with a optional future fee of £40 million. So unless we win the Premier League this year, don't expect me to be signing this guy permanently, but Gregorio Luisica is an 18-year-old Argentinian under-23 international, 3-star current ability, 5-star potential. He is going to be very good. £5.5 million to loan him for the year is expensive, but right backs seem to be real slim pickings, and we needed one, and he is one. That's how 2 Premier League loans done now between him and Nelson. And then we also signed Anibal Ocampos, the goalkeeper we were looking at before, Paraguayan international, still only 21, 3-star current ability, 5-star potential. He's a bit better than Besic now. Besic is a League One player who can be a Championship player one day, I think he was described as, whereas Ocampos, a Championship player who will potentially be good enough for the Premier League. So ideally, we still bring in another goalkeeper. He's come in on a backup contract. So if we can find a first-team goalkeeper, we do still have money to spend. But if we can't, he's at least better than what we had and happy to sit on the bench if we do find somebody better. We've also loaned Keith Dempster out to Preston in the Championship, League One, for the season to just hopefully see him score a load of goals and come back ready for us for next season. And I think I'd already shown you that we've sold Ennis and Radoni and some of these other players. So the squad is continuing to be reshaped. Money is still fine. There's still plenty of opportunity to do more business. The squad itself is looking very nice. I think we potentially need another midfielder, despite the fact we've already brought in 2. If I'm working on the assumption that Puigmal is leaving, Silva's leaving, and I don't know, Anderson, McCormick, I don't know how much I'm relying on those guys. If we end up playing Palaskonis in behind the striker, he is the best player at the club in that role, then we probably need someone else in midfield, or is it's going to be Walsh and Santiago, or McCormick and Bondo? I don't know. Another central midfielder might be a good idea. We are not going to bring in another right winger. We've signed 2 this summer already for £25 million between the 2 of them. So that position is sorted. Defence, I think, largely is sorted. So really, it's probably another central midfielder, a better goalkeeper if we can find one. And, you know, if a 5-star wonder kid striker appears on the shortlist, on the scouting reports, then they'll probably have my arm twisted into signing one. But there's still players we want to move on as well. If we look at the squad, there's still a few of these that should be leaving. Guzman's probably going to go out on loan. Now we've signed Kerr Smith. We don't need him around anymore. But looking through the rest of the squad, players who are likely to move on. Puigmal's on the transfer list. Let's offer him out. Again, should never have signed him. We'll offer him out again. Simpson, we'd like to go out on loan just to get some game time because I don't see him getting anywhere near the first team for us. But of course, we want his salary paying. So let's get him offered out for loan. Everyone else in here seems about right. Luan Silva at 29 and still not a regular starter. I don't see me using. Tyrese John Jules, likewise, don't see using him. So still players to move on. There's still going to be more business. This is, I told you it was going to be a very important transfer window. The media still think we're guaranteed to get relegated. It doesn't really matter what I do. They're going to assume we're going to get relegated. Interesting, some of the players at Manchester City look like they've signed. Goodness me. Oh, and Makoko went to Manchester United. Oh, the Premier League's going to be really painful, isn't it? Who's this guy? Colin. Oh, he's a new gen. Okay, that makes sense. I think he's the only new gen in there. There you go. We've reached the point where new gens make it into the Dream 11. Everyone else, even Kev, has heard of. More transfers. I know some of you were probably concerned we hadn't signed a Brazilian yet this summer. Don't worry, we've fixed that problem. Silvio Luis can play anywhere in the attacking 4, primarily a left winger to compete with Gallagher on that left-hand side. He was at Norwich previously, started at Sparta Prague, as all good Brazilian youngsters do. Went to Norwich, played 5 games for Norwich in the Premier League since arriving in January, scored a goal as well. Norwich actually survived in the Premier League. What? Apparently Norwich survived in the Premier League, and we've just taken him off them because we wanted a Brazilian and they had one. So we've taken it, and I think that's completely reasonable. The squad, will keep checking in on this squad depth. In fact, he's not bad on that right-hand side, is he? Maybe he'll be my starting right winger. Maybe he'll play here. No, that's Luan Silva. Hold on, that's Luan Silva. That's what I'm trying to get rid of. Where's Silvio Luis? I've really got to get rid of Luan Silva now, or there is not a chance I'll ever remember there's two players with similar names at the club. Luan Silva's going to end up playing after I've replaced him 5 times, tried to move him on constantly. I mean, he only started 14 games last year. We continue looking for bargains. Well, we've squeezed in one more signing. Johan Engelbert is a French under-21 international right back who can also play left back. We've got a couple of right backs now, so someone who can compete with Sika for a starting spot. Although realistically, like I've said before, they're probably both behind Kerr Smith, who is likely to be starting there at the moment because we've got so many good centre-backs. But he's another one who's going to be a decent Premier League player at some point, relatively cheap. We've also managed to send Puigmal out on loan for the season. Almost all of his wages is being paid. We're still having to pay a couple of grand a week. This one was just a flop. I'm not really sure what my thought process was with bringing him in. Let's pretend that one never happened. He's probably here for like another 8 years on a long contract. So all of that means this is likely to be the team that plays against Manchester United in our first game in the Premier League. I mean, Newcastle in the second game, at least that's a team that were in our league last year. I imagine they've spent even more than we have, 74 million. Yeah. I mean, they've spent some money there, haven't they? So that's going to be an interesting one as well. But this is likely to be our team for this first game in the Premier League. Some of the new signings not quite ready to play. Palaskonis not fully fit. This one is probably going to be more of a flop than Puigmal. He's got potential. He'll be fine. But for now, I don't really want to throw in someone who's completely untried for a first game in the Premier League. I guess the one surprising thing is I think I'm going with Scarlett over Brewster. They're very, very similar. They're both considered 3-star strikers now. But the big thing that has convinced me that I should probably go for Scarlett over Brewster is when you do the comparison between the two. I mean, they are very similar, as you can see. Scarlett's slightly better in the air. Brewster slightly better on attacking. But, I mean, there's very little between the two of them. But when you go to the reports, it's changed. Oh, no, hang on. No, it hasn't. It's another one of these weird things. On the reports, Scarlett's described as a decent Premier League player, but also a good Championship player, whereas Brewster just described as a good Championship player. So I actually went for Scarlett because he's got the mention of the Premier League in his name. Plus he's younger, he's got more potential, he's more likely to be the long-term solution. Realistically, we're just going to be rotating the two of them until one of them starts scoring goals. And if neither of them score goals, we've got the other guy, Young, I think his name is Alan Young. He can come in if need be as well. So I'm expecting to be beaten quite severely tomorrow. Let's see what happens, eh? If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. I thank you very much for watching.